You would think that they would be very similar, but right away you get more of that like ricey corn, adjuncty, extracty blandness. You know what usually happens here is like have my gut feeling and then I go contrary to my gut and I'm usually wrong. Those two taste the same. I'm sure you're yelling at the TV like, they're so different. I know this guy doesn't know anything. Today we have 3 iconic Mexican lagers competing against 3 of their American counterparts. Who's it gonna be? Let's dive right into the Mexican lagers first. Sample number 1. Clean on the nose, clean on the appearance, got like a little bit of a honey characteristic to it. Really super clear. Probably the clearest of the 3. There's a little bit of sediment in these 2, and this one's crystal clear. Also the lightest of the 3, which is quite nice. And the way that we have the light set up in the studio today, it looks really beautiful from my perspective. Yeah, it tastes like, it smells like a little bit of honey. Clean, easy drinking, nice little punch of bitterness on the back end. Little bit appley. It has that, like, we use the term acetaldehyde in brewing, which is an apple characteristic that winds up in the beer for many, many different reasons. It's not necessarily a flaw in this style, but I am perceiving it in this example. Super crisp, easy to drink, nice lingering bitterness, great start. I did want to mention too that the guys let me know that all of the samples today are in cans, so we have no issues with the beer being light struck, which I think is good because we're kind of comparing apples to apples, and the risk of having that oxidative skunky character in any of these beers has been minimized with the cans. It's funny, there's a fair amount of sediment in this, which is surprising for a macro lager. It's funny, I just got done saying that none of them are going to be skunky, and this one's actually a little bit skunky. Nice though, surprising. Maybe it's just the condition of my palate during this sampling, but these first 2 samples are pretty bitter relative to what I'd expect. Clean cereal malts. That skunkiness on the nose is not in the flavor. Less honey, more dryness in that second sample. Moving on to sample number 3. Wow, that one has a lot more honey character, a lot more malt character, a little bit more fullness on the palate. Clearly darker than the other 2. It's almost like a honey gold color, which is really nice. Again, a lot of sediment. Bizarre. The American examples don't have that. These Mexican lagers have what appears to be potentially residual yeast in suspension. All right, so first impressions of those samples, a little bit of honey, a little bit of bitterness, kind of well-rounded. This one a lot drier, not as much apple character, pretty clean. And this one, honeyed malts, rich, probably the most full-bodied of the 3, at least in my perception, and a fair amount of bitterness to boot. This is hard. One thing I will say is that all these beers are good for the purpose that they serve. It really depends on what you're in the mood for. And frankly, you're very much splitting hairs. But if I had to pick a favorite of these 3, I'm going to go with the 3rd sample. It has all the best attributes of the first and the second, but it has a roundness and a fullness and a kind of a hop bite that's really pleasing right now. It doesn't lose marks because of the floaties that it has in suspension. I'm not the type of person to criticize a beer because of its appearance unless it's really terrible, but you know, that is a flaw and it's surprising for a macro lager. But all that said, sample number 3 is my number 1 of the Mexican beer that will compete against the other 3 American samples. Moving on to the American examples, sample number 1. Beautiful golden color. Sweet, sweet, sweet creamed aroma. Very, very different. Wow. You would think that they would be very similar, but right away you get more of that like ricey corn, adjuncty, extracty blandness that can be associated with American lager. A little bit of banana, a little bit of funny sweetness on the finish too. Yeah, I'm not digging that. I'm not digging that. Wow, it's like there's a little bit of banana. Very creamy. I will say the body and the texture on that beer is very, very nice. The flavor's kind of weird for me. Hopefully these other two examples are better. Ooh, a little bit of a floral hop note on that one. A little bit more caramel sweetness, a little bit of floral hop character. Not as creamy as the first one though. Texture and mouthfeel, sample number 1 is strong. Flavor and aroma, sample number 2 on the first pass is stronger. Sample number 3. I will say these first 2 American lager samples have a nice appearance. You know, clingy, wispy foam, nice little cap on top. This looks like a stadium pour. This looks like your quintessential, you know, no head retention, beer filled right to the brim, American style lager. Not a lot going on in the aroma. Not a lot going on. Got that like cereal malt character. Very little hop. If you're not new to the channel, you know that my general opinion of light lager, American lager, easy drinking lager is that it's well made, it's easy to drink. There's not much to dislike, generally, is my opinion on these beers, but today they're not sampling very well. Could just be that I'm not in the mood for it, but I'm not impressed. I'm sad. Banana-y. That one tastes kind of like beery in a bad way. If you've ever worked at a redemption center, I worked at a redemption center as a kid, and you had that like kind of, Michael's laughing because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. You get that like stale beer on the floor energy is what I got from that one. I don't know. My favorite thing about this one is it's creamy and smooth and nice mouthfeel. This one's kind of like ashy and bitter, but it does have a richness to it that I like. And this one's just kind of like nothing going on. With that said, sample number 2 will be in the final competition against sample number 3 from Mexico. All right, this is where the challenge gets harder. Hopefully you got a bag of popcorn at home. Hopefully you're cracking a Treehouse Julius. Hopefully you're feeling excited about this outcome. Hopefully you're yelling at your TV because you know something that I don't, and you know what's in these glasses and I don't, and now it's even harder on me to understand what I'm drinking. So this is a very unbiased look at one Mexican beer versus one American beer, and the winner moves on to face the next country that we randomly choose to do these samplings. Let's dive in. First on the nose, I get like a little bit of skunkiness in that first one. Pretty subtle though. All right, let's see what happens. Nice and clean. Reasonably rich on that one. Good little bitterness on the finish. Kind of ricey corn, like cornflakes on the finish on that one. This is harder than you think. It's harder than you think. Picking a favorite, I'm not trying to identify which one is which. I'm really not. I'm trying to pick a favorite. And with the black glasses, they really, any distinguishing character, any preconceived notions just wash away. Good pop on that one, good bitterness, good body. A little bit funny on the finish though, leafy, herbal, vegetal. This makes me think of the, was it Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Choose wisely. If I choose the wrong one, I'm about to turn into a shriveled corpse and turn to dust. They're drinking so similarly in the black glasses, and I'm sure you're yelling at the TV like, they're so different, I know, this guy doesn't know anything. A Well, you don't have the light shining in your face, and you don't have the pressure of 10 million suns to choose the beer that will define a country, that will change the course of history.
You have chosen wisely.
America, America. America, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for today. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. Stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see you soon.